Hey lovers, welcome back to Learning as We Go podcast. Here it is a safe space for absolutely anyone to stay, indulge in, and just have a peaceful moment to yourself. We talk a lot about me time, being more confident in your daily life, showing up more for yourself, and living in a way that is sustainable but also really considerate of your mental health and well-being. Today, we are talking about something that I have gotten the chance to learn a lot more about recently, especially after coming back from uni and having around 4 months to myself, primarily at home, and not being constantly surrounded with so many people, especially living in residence where the area is just constantly booming with people my age and people that are just so similar to me or different to me, but is just completely active, and then coming home for 4 months and working remotely, and that complete switch. And this may kind of sound simple, but it's something that really does impact your energy and your mood and your ability to feel grounded, especially if you are just so used to being surrounded by so many people all the time, and then you suddenly have this huge shift and cross to the complete opposite and the opposite extreme where, now I'm at home and I have one sibling and she's at work all day, my parents are at work all day, and I'm just at my house all by myself. And getting used to that is a process, and sometimes we can feel almost bad about it. Even if you're an introvert or extrovert, your body kind of adjusts to always having people around. And when it doesn't have that all of a sudden, it almost makes you feel kind of almost bad about yourself, because you ask questions like, am I not happy with myself? Am I not just in a happy state? Is this alone versus lonely? And that's kind of what we're going to talk about in this episode. So a more personal story of mine, I got back from university after the winter semester ended in April, and I came home, and the immediate adjustment was a little bit, just because I was actually a Don at my university, which means I was an upper year student that was helping first year students kind of navigate their first year in university. So helping with that requires you to talk to your students a lot and make sure that you're helping as much students as you can and that are willing to kind of talk to you and navigate their way through in that kind of aspect. Some students aren't really for that, and that's totally okay, but some students are like, yes, I'd really love to know what I can do, what are my options, how can I get involved in the university life? So that was a really big thing for me. I was always talking to someone, or I always had an email to respond to, or students were always reaching out, my team would reach out to me, we had team socials, team meetings, and then, there's like the typical, you live with friends, or you go to classes and you see friends all the time. And then suddenly you come home and, your friends live 5 hours away, and it is not super accessible to see them all the time. But what I found actually recently, which is very interesting, is I have become so accustomed now, especially since it's been a long time since April. I've been so accustomed to my own time. I've been so used to my own solitude. So even now when I do get a phone call or see my friends, I immediately become a little bit uncomfortable, even if this could be like my best friend ever. And I do have a couple friends that I call really frequently, but even these calls almost sometimes seem a little uncomfortable at first, just because I'm just so used to my solitude. And when I'm on the call with them, eventually I'm having a really great time. I'm having so much fun. We're laughing, we're telling each other about how our lives have been for the last week or a couple days, what we have been doing at our jobs, our coworkers, and we're having a great time. But then suddenly, when I had to put down the phone and not talk to them anymore and go back to my solitude, I get uncomfortable again. And it's so odd because I was perfectly fine in my own company, and then I get uncomfortable talking to my friends immediately, but then I get fine and I get used to it, and I really like it actually. I love talking to them. They're so funny. I'm having such a great time. And then when they're put down the phone or we're not talking anymore, it's uncomfortable again. And it's the same case the other way around. And especially, again, when I was always hanging out with my friends every single day and used to having people around me all the time, having that me time at those points was very weird. And it was almost like I never had a moment just for myself from when I woke up. And this is really interesting because we don't always know why this happens, and we tend to blame ourselves. We tend to be like, I wish I could just adjust better, or I wish that this wouldn't happen and I was just like really good at conversation, or I was just like really happy with myself and I loved my own company and I just wish that I liked myself more. And sometimes we can tell ourselves these things, and sometimes they can actually be a lie. Sometimes you can actually really like your company as long as you learn what you like to do, what makes you feel fulfilled, and what makes you feel like you're actually having a good time in both situations. And this actually happens because of sort of a baseline shift. I think what it is our nervous system just has some time that's needed to adapt to a different situation. So if you've been alone for a really long time, this becomes your norm to your nervous system. But if you've been surrounded by a lot of people, this will become your comfort zone. So it's really important to not blame ourselves in the situation, and knowing that that is completely normal, it's completely natural. And there's also an aspect of social battery in this perspective, and different people will recharge in different ways. Sometimes that adjustment or adaptation will happen quicker for some people. Some people need weeks after an interaction or a larger gathering. They need weeks by themselves to really recuperate and rejuvenate and be okay again. Like they can go carry out their daily activities. And this varies, again, for different people. And personally, I'm an extroverted introvert. So I do need people. I really love that deep sense of connection. But what I have found recently is if I do not have my own time and my own quiet time, I tend to really, really burn out. And I didn't really understand what the definition of burnout really was. We do hear that a lot. We hear it so much, you burn out. But what does it actually mean? So again, it does mean different things for different people. But for me personally, burning out was when I really loved different parts of my life. I loved having a social life. I really cared about my grades. I was working as a Dawn at that time, and I was part of many different clubs and organizations in my university as executive roles. So I was balancing all of these things, and burnout for me was when I was just so tired of balancing all these responsibilities that I had in all of these things that slowly I was unable to really balance one of the things. So my focus on one of the organizations, for example, had just completely dropped. I began missing meetings. I wasn't able to contribute as much as I could. I was just very mediocre or just like baseline adequate at all of my things, where if I had just had as much on my plate as I really could handle, that way I could have made sure that the things I did do, even if it was a smaller amount, that I was really making sure that those things were of higher quality. Now, everybody makes mistakes. I don't think I would have known that it wasn't good for my mental health if that had not happened and if I had not made that mistake of signing up for all of these responsibilities. I'm glad it did happen because now I know that's not a good idea. And it might seem so obvious that, maybe don't have a part-time job and be in school full-time and be in 2 different organizations as executive roles and do all of these things. Like, maybe don't do that. But sometimes it just doesn't click for people until they actually try and they learn why people say, you know what, maybe try not doing that because of the consequences that come with that. It's so great to put on a resume. It looks lovely, but what comes with that? Well, it's the complete destruction of your mental health, and that's not even like a exaggeration. That's actually what was happening. I was not in a good state that couple months. And it's because I didn't really understand how much it was important to, yes, that's so great, have these passions, want to be able to do these things, but also I have to make sure that I'm actually ensuring that this plan is sustainable. So if I want to do these things, can I actually maintain it long term? And if not, why is that? Is it because you're neglecting something in your actual life? Because that's usually what it will be. If you want to balance maybe 2 jobs, you could probably do that, but that would mean you'd probably have to sacrifice a part of your life, and usually that's your social life. Or if you want to balance a bunch of different things, just make sure that you are prioritizing what is important to you, what will keep you healthy, what you need to maintain positive mental health, and what you need in order to move closer to your goals. So me personally, I'd like to move forward with my degree. Currently I'm in university, and for me to be successful, that's something I would prioritize. I would prioritize my academics. I'd like to eventually do a master's, so I want to try and get as high grades as I can without, working every day for like hours and hours and hours and having this huge amount of stress. And it's gonna happen sometimes. The day before an exam is a little bit stressful. It's more on the stressful side, which is normal, but having that every single day, that's not okay. Another thing I like to prioritize is my social life. I love my friends so much. They are so fun, so energizing to be around, so funny, and I have such a good time, but also they really help me be on track. My friends are also super dedicated to their academics, and they also really are passionate about the same things I am. We're all in the same degree. Actually, we're all pursuing the same degree program, so we all have similar classes, and we could ask each other and help each other grow in that part as well, which is also why it's important to surround yourself with people you'd like to be more like, because you will end up picking up their characteristics. Another thing I want to prioritize, especially this upcoming year, because I really did not do this last year, was prioritizing my own time where I'm just in a room by myself. And when I say that from the moment I woke up and left my room in my second year of university, that I was not alone. I was always either talking to someone or walking to class with someone or in class with someone or having lunch with somebody else. And until I came home and went to sleep, I was never, ever, ever alone. It was only when I was sleeping that I was actually alone, that I woke up, and then I was always with someone else. And now I really know that although it might be like, you know what, I think I would rather, go to the bar, or maybe I want to go to the movies with my friends, which is also important, like once in a while, that's totally okay. But if every single day you go home, but even at your residence, you're like out with other people in your residence and you're all playing board games, which is also great, but every day is something that's not sustainable for your own mental health. Once in a while is so important because you do want to foster that connection with other people, especially if you're someone that really values connection like me. But you have to make sure that at the end of the day, or just sometime before the end of the day, that you do come back to yourself and you reflect on the day. This is going to sound really cheesy, but it is incredibly, incredibly important, and it's very crucial to come back to yourself. How did your day go? What are some goals that you had, or just any sort of reflection? Do Duolingo by yourself for a little bit and color for a little bit while watching a YouTube video of some sort, or color while listening to a podcast. Me personally, I love The Wizard Liz. I think she's super, super cool. I also love Emma Chamberlain's. I find that listening to empowering women that have achieved so much in their field, or, researching about people that I'd like to be more like in the future, or maybe even implement their current activities or whatever they carry out in their lives more into my life. Really studying their life and listening to them talk really lets me understand, okay, if this is something I'd like to achieve myself in the future, maybe learning from them, hearing what they have to say. And that's also just important in real life too. Listening to women is a huge thing that should be more prioritized in many aspects of life, but I also find it really valuable to myself to listen to these phenomenal women that have accomplished so much. It's really inspiring, and even just, winding down before bed and avoiding scrolling is something that I have really valued. Even reading. Reading has been something I've had a hot and cold kind of relationship with recently, especially because I have really only looked at nonfiction books. I've only really picked up nonfiction books recently, or actually for a while, around a year and a half. It's only been nonfiction because when I do read, I've always had this subconscious thought of, okay, I'm taking the time to read. I don't really want to read something that's not going to be valuable. Not that fictional books aren't valuable, but I find that if I read nonfiction, I might actually be able to implement the actual information that I'm getting from this in my real life. But the thing is, nonfiction books aren't usually as fun to read as fictional books. And due to this reason, I find myself reaching out for nonfiction books less. And that's a little bit, of an issue, because if you want to wind down and if you want to have that me time and you want to read, and you're almost forcing yourself to stick to nonfiction books because you think it might be better for you, but then if you're not, what's the point? But also, additionally, what I've actually learned recently is reconnecting to fictional stories. I personally love David Williams' books. His children's books are something I really grew up on. Roald Dahl, Chris Colfer, a lot of fairy tale-like books that are longer and really promote your imagination and your usage of creativity. Those can actually help you reconnect with your inner child, and they can actually be really beneficial to your mental health. And I actually just recently learned this, and again, this can be like, well, obviously, it's it's going to be good for your mental health if you're reconnecting, but sometimes you really just need that extra vocalization from someone. You just need that extra reminder that's like, this can help with reconnecting with your inner child and reconnecting with yourself and having a good time when you're alone and not feeling like you don't like yourself almost. Again, we did talk about that time. Give your nervous system time to adapt to your alone time and isolation almost. But give yourself that grace and give yourself that ability to reconnect with things that make you happy in the time that you're taking for yourself every day. Again, this is important. Even if it's 20 minutes, just put aside 20 minutes. At the end of the day, that's a minimum. The more, the better. And tell yourself nice things. If this is the 20 minutes you have when you're doing your skincare, maybe you have a longer routine, tell yourself nice things in the mirror. Really, tell yourself nice things. We need to hear more things that are nice about ourselves. And we can provide that to ourselves. It is so nice when a stranger compliments you. Don't get me wrong, it always makes my day. But you can also give that to yourself. Don't limit yourself to only hearing good things from your peers. You can be that person for yourself as well. Tell yourself nice things. Tell yourself you love the way you look. That can be one thing. But recently I have become more appreciative of my characteristics regarding my personality over my looks. And it used to actually be the other way around a year ago. I used to not super appreciate when... It's not that I wouldn't appreciate it. It's just I appreciated it more when people complimented my looks than I did my character. And it was like a huge extent that I would appreciate the the looks compliment over the character one. But recently, I have begun to really sink in, or allow for it to sink into me, the value of recognizing the lovely characteristics, because that's what people will see more in you, and that's also what helps you be you towards yourself. So whenever I do, have that me time or I'm doing my skincare or my makeup, I'm always telling myself, even if it's in your head, but I do recommend saying it out loud, but appreciating your empathy or your kindness or how you look at the world in love, or if you really like that you're more intellectual, or that you're good at math, or that you are very funny, or if you're curious, or if you are a person with a lot of integrity. Appreciate that about yourself. It is not arrogant to like yourself. And I think a lot of people have to hear that, so I'm going to say it again. It's not arrogant, and it's not rude if you just like yourself. That's really important for people to realize. You can love yourself, and that's really important. And if someone does make you feel arrogant for liking yourself, that's concerning on their part. That's more concerning around if they like themselves, because that honestly is when someone does say something that's not of kind intent. It usually does reflect insecurity within that person that's saying it, but it's not arrogant. It is not rude. You're not being too much for just loving who you are and being kind to yourself. So those are some thoughts that I'd like to leave you with today. And like always, here are some journaling prompts that I really do want you to give a shot. Even if it's just 5 minutes or the 20 minutes that you do set aside for yourself today, pick one of these and answer it with however much you'd like. If you just want to answer it in 2 sentences, then sure. But if you want to go through it more, absolutely. So here they are. Number 1, when do I feel most energized? After spending time with others or after being alone? Why do I think that is? Number 2, What does alone time look like for me at its best? What makes it feel fulfilling rather than lonely? And 3, do I ever use socializing to avoid being with myself? Or do I use alone time to avoid connection? All right, so those were the 3. Thanks for being here, lovers. I really, really appreciate you. You are loved, you are valid, and you are worthy. Thank you for being here while I talk through something that I'm also learning myself. I encourage responses from you. You can go follow me at radiant.ca on Instagram and send me a message. Tell me what you enjoyed about this podcast. Tell me your thoughts. I want to hear about it. Tell me what you think about the journaling prompts, even if you want to send that to me and just get my feedback or just feel like someone is hearing you on their other side. I'm right there for you. Feel free to download this podcast, follow this podcast. It really, really helps me out. And I really do appreciate the ability to be there for all of you. And you can also listen to this on YouTube at the Learning As We Go podcast on YouTube. And until next time, stay amazing. And again, you are so loved, you are so valid, and you are worthy of all the good things in the world. Have a lovely day, my loves.